What's up, guys? Today, for our nutrition topic, we're going to talk about how to never get overwhelmed with fat loss, okay? The goal is I want to lose the body fat that I have, and then I want to live my life. And what most people end up doing is they become very anxious, or they have all these feelings of guilt or frustration around fat loss. So I'm going to give you 3 keys that will help you end your fat loss frustrations, and you'll never be overwhelmed by them ever again. Okay, so let's get into it. Our first thing is the trivial many versus the vital few. What does that mean? Okay, so this is the law of 80-20, okay, or Paretos Law. Paretos Law is a law that was derived from this scientist or statistician or mathematician who found that the 80% of the outputs of any given thing come from 20% of the inputs. So the example in that original experiment was, I believe it went something along the lines of, he had these pea plants, right? And he found that 80% of the yield, or all of the peas that were coming out, came from 20% of the plants. And so then he began to study this in other areas, and that law holds true, where most of your outcome is coming from a very small portion of the input, okay? So in business, this holds true where you'll find that 80% or more of a company's revenue comes from 20% of its clients, or sometimes even less. So the point is that means you can eliminate the vast majority of stuff that is distracting you and overwhelming you, because it's not adding to the results anyway. So in this case, what are the vital few and what are the trivial many in fat loss? The vital few are tracking your calories in, tracking your weight, monitoring yourself in the mirror, so pictures, and how do your clothes fit. These 3 things, these 3 outputs, okay, are in your control. This calories in is in your control. The third thing is strength training. It doesn't really matter what, as long as you do safe strength training for the rest of your life, that's all that matters, right? And it should be something that's fun for you. The third thing is patience and time, okay? So if you remove everything else and focus on calories in, weight, strength training, along with time, that's all you need to get like 95% of the results you want. I would say even more. That's the vital few. Now the trivial many. What's my maintenance? What's my or should I do keto? How about my meal timing? Should I be eating organic? Okay. How about blah 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 blah. All of these things, right? Food quality, blah blah blah. These things don't matter. They're the trivial many. And I'm sure you could come up with a million other things to add to that list. Detox, cleanse, like all this bullshit. Do I need a special type of training? Do I need to do more training? Like all of that is irrelevant. And like for fat loss specifically, you could even remove strength training and just focus on calories in and your weight, and that's all you need to focus on. Now, obviously, like on this side, you're monitoring, you know, if you pick a certain amount of calories and then your weight begins to stay the same, you know you need to decrease your calories a little bit more. If you pick a certain amount of calories and your weight drops, right, over time, then that's the right weight for you if you're trying to lose fat. If it's going up, then you need to decrease calories, right? But that's just a simple matter of tracking, like, and doing it for a long, extended period of time, okay? The second thing is stop listening to them, whoever they are. So many times a client or somebody who messaged me, they'll be like, yeah, you know, but they say that you should blah, 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 fill in the blank with whatever fitness myth or nutrition myth you have last heard, okay? And so, you know, I'm specifically like when a client says this, I'm like, okay, so what is the expertise of this person? Are they themselves in shape? Even that's not a good marker, because a lot of times people are in shape and they don't know what they're doing, right? Like, I don't need to know how a car works in order to drive a car, right? if I wanted to know how a car works, I would go to a mechanic or somebody who's opened up cars and knows how it works, right? Who's studied that. So the first thing is like, would you trade places with this person? Otherwise their information is irrelevant. And also, like, there's a lot of ways to do things. And like, our goal is always to teach you in a way that's enjoyable and sustainable, not to make you more miserable, right? So when they are telling you things, look, 99% of the time, you can just ignore it. If all of these people knew how this works, like they would be in that, like that, they would be an expert in that field, right? They would be working with a lot of people to do that. And it just kind of goes back to like, ask yourself, do you trust this person? Do you listen to them on other things? Do they seem like a knowledgeable person? And would you trade places with them? If the answer is no, and also like, do they have proven results with a variety of people, a number of people for a long period of time, right? These are the questions to ask, and then you won't feel anxious because like somebody told you one thing, another person told you another thing, and then that person told you another thing, and you're just overwhelmed. Like, well, who's telling the truth, right? So remember that if everybody knew what they were talking about, everybody would be shredded, everybody would be having plenty of money, everybody would have great relationships. The majority of people don't know. So stop overwhelming yourself with information from people who don't know, right? And what I would add to that is like going back to that example of the car guy, right? So I know how to drive a car. I have no clue how it works. Just because I own a car and I drive a car doesn't make me an expert on cars. Same thing with the body. Everyone has a body, and so they feel like they're an expert, but they're not. And even a lot of these so-called experts, they don't really understand what's going on because they add to the complexity of things. They tell you to start doing all of this other shit because they have a financial interest versus the vital few, right? The third thing helps with both of these, okay? Because the third thing is get a coach. Get somebody that you trust. And can you do it on your own? Absolutely, okay? But what is the purpose of getting a coach? So you can shrink that time and you can have information that's specifically catered to you and your life, right? So, and you have that accountability and that personal guidance. So you might have, you're like, okay, well, I don't know what the trivial, many, and the vital few are. The coach will answer that. If it's a good coach, he's not going to make you, or they're not going to make you think about 50 things. They're going to give you the exact few pieces that are going to give you the results you're looking for. The second thing is, if you get a coach, if you're paying a coach to teach you and work with you, then now you can turn off everybody. Because if you don't want to listen to the coach, then why did you hire them to begin with, right? So that also eliminates the second problem. So these are my 3 recommendations if you never want to get overwhelmed by fat loss ever again. If this was helpful, please comment, like, share this video, and we will see you next time.